Doy la palabra.
I give the floor to the representative of the Syrian Arab Republic.
شكرا جزيلا.
I thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to congratulate you and your team for your presidency of the Security Council in the current month, and I would like to thank your predecessor, the Permanent Representative of Pakistan, and his team for their successful presidency of the Council last month. I would also like to thank Mr. Geir Peterson, the Special Envoy to Syria, and Mr. Tom Fletcher, Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator, for their briefings and for the work that they and their teams are doing. Mr. President, the government of Syria continues its efforts to restore peace and security and improve the living and humanitarian conditions of Syrians throughout the country. We are working on addressing the intersecting challenges that are facing our people after long years of a war that has exhausted and weakened the Syrian people and destroyed the country's infrastructure and economy and left behind painful suffering that has affected all Syrians. The last period has witnessed the adoption of practical measures on the road to recovery and the establishment of foundations to build promising economic partnerships to invigorate the economy and to rebuild and to push forth towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Syria looks forward to its positive international engagement and to receiving further support for it and for its people at this sensitive stage. National efforts continue to face a group of complex challenges that negatively affect Syrian reality, at the forefront of which are the aggressive Israeli policies that violate Syria's sovereignty and that carry out incursions into its lands and perpetrate violations against its people, and its quest to weaken the Syrian state and affects its national unity by attacking it outright and by setting the fires of discourse and fanning the flames of existing tensions. All of this aims to establish a new fait accompli of occupation that is in line with the expansionist schemes of the occupation, which are a blatant and dangerous violation of international law and the basis of stable international relations and a direct threat to the sovereignty of countries and to regional and international peace and security here. Syria renews its call upon the Security Council to condemn the Israeli attacks and to oblige the Israeli occupation authorities to withdraw their forces from the Syrian territories that it has been present in over the past few months, and to end its occupation of the Syrian Golan in accordance with relevant United Nations resolutions, at the forefront of which are resolutions 242, 338, and 497. We regret that the presidential statement adopted by the Security Council on the 10th of August, we regret that it contained no condemnation of the recent Israeli attacks on the surroundings of the presidential palace, as well as the Chief of Staff's headquarters in Damascus. Mr. President, in light of the report issued by the International Independent Commission of Inquiry on the painful events that took place on the Syrian coast, the Foreign Minister sent an official letter to the chairman of the committee, and he expressed his appreciation for the efforts made and the points that are in line with the conclusions arrived at by the Independent National Committee formed for that purpose. The Foreign Minister has renewed the Syrian government's commitment to transparency and accountability and constructive cooperation with the international community. And this was manifest in the unprecedented permission given to the fact-finding integrity to the investigative team to have unimpeded access to the areas affected by violence and to deal seriously with alleged violations through conducting investigations and detaining several persons. The Foreign Minister also confirmed the government's intention to build national institutions based on justice and the rule of law. The minister welcomed the conclusions arrived at by the Commission on the absence of any government policy to perpetrate these crimes. Rather, it noted that orders were issued to prevent them and to return order. He also noted that the recommendations by the Commission, in addition to the recommendations made by the National Commission, will form a roadmap to enhance justice and to continue progress in Syria despite the challenges. He confirmed that Syria will continue to cooperate with the Commission and the international community on the basis of full respect for Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity. In the same vein, the Foreign Minister reaffirmed that As-Suwaida, with its national and historic symbolism, and the people of Suwaida are a true part of Syria's national makeup and cannot be excluded or marginalized, and protecting them continues to be the primary responsibility of the country and of the state, and has always been so. What the governorate witnessed in terms of bloody, painful, and heinous incidents was a result of Israeli attempts to light the fires of sectarian strife and to destabilize the country. Today, we continue our efforts to establish civil peace and return stability and to enhance the delivery of humanitarian aid to all those who need it in cooperation with United Nations agencies and humanitarian partners. Many humanitarian aid convoys have been dispatched in coordination with the Syrian Arab Red Crescent, and they headed to Daraa and As-Suwaida. Moreover, we have facilitated visits by international delegations to these areas in order to evaluate needs and work on meeting them. These efforts have also been manifest in several other forms, including the meeting between Syria, Jordan, and the United States, hosted by the sisterly kingdom of Jordan, and we thank them for hosting it, to discuss the situation in Syria and means of supporting reconstruction on the foundations that would guarantee Syria's security and stability, its sovereignty, its unity, and in a manner that would meet the aspirations of Syria's people. Those at the meeting stressed the need to give precedence to logic and dialogue and to reject any destructive external interference. They welcomed the government's commitment to conduct full investigations and to hold accountable those who perpetrated crimes and violations in As-Suwaida. And they welcomed the government's readiness to cooperate with relevant United Nations agencies in a manner that would enhance justice and would guarantee reparation for the victims. The Syrian government reiterates its absolute rejection of any attempt to break up Syria or to take advantage of any events to establish and to implement any destructive foreign agendas. We reject any unilateral measures that do not contribute to healing the rift or achieving national reconciliation and which are not in line with the country's sovereignty or territorial integrity and unity. The government of Syria stresses that the door to a Syrian national dialogue will continue to be open to all those who seek a genuine dialogue and joint action that aims to take Syria to a better future that is worthy of all its people with no exception. Mr. President, Syrians still look to the international community to offer support in the humanitarian and developmental fields, and in a manner that would achieve their aspirations in creating a qualitative shift in their living standards and in alleviating their suffering and the severe lack of basic services. They seek this aid to address the serious challenges resulting from climate change, including the fires that once again burn throughout the country, and the catastrophic drought that has deprived Syrians of their basic water needs and which seriously threatens agricultural output and food security. We have heard and we have listened to the statements made by the USG and several delegates on the impact of the drought as well as the declining agricultural productivity and what this means in terms of food security among the Syrians. Overcoming these challenges requires enhancing cooperation and solidarity with Syria and supporting the different vital sectors as well as humanitarian action and developmental work. It requires meeting the pledges made to fund the humanitarian response plan. And as we heard, the funding rate has not exceeded, and we were approaching the last quarter of the year, it has not exceeded 14%. This means that we renew our call to support Syria and to meet the announced pledges to fund the humanitarian response plan and to lift the remaining coercive measures and to close the sanctions file once and for all. And here we note the need to support the United States draft resolution due to be submitted to the Security Council to complete the measures, the delisting procedures from the sanction lists. My country, Syria, stresses its commitment to partnerships and continued cooperation with the United Nations and its specialized agencies. We have reviewed some of the contents of the strategic evaluation of the United Nations role in Syria. And here we stress that we continue to cooperate with the Office of the Special Envoy, Peterson, and the agencies of the organization. And we note the urgent need for the United Nations teams in Syria, and especially the incoming resident coordinator, the need for them to work in a more coherent, coordinated, and effective manner as partial interventions and parallel evaluations and duplicate efforts reflect negatively on the efficacy of humanitarian operations and limit their output and outcomes. Mr. President, Syrians have always been and will always rise above any attempt to plant the seeds of discord or division. And today, Syrians are deeply committed to their national belonging, and they look towards turning over this leaf of pain and suffering so that they can build a future for their country. Syria, despite the trials and tribulations, will remain united with its people and proud of its diversity and committed to its sovereignty. It will chart a path towards a bright future that is built by all Syrians and for all Syrians. Women and men and young men and young women. In closing, Mr. President, and seeing as this is the last statement I will be delivering on behalf of my country before your August Council, I would like to address you all with my sincere thanks and appreciation. I thank the permanent representatives and the members of their teams and delegations. I thank all member states and the Secretariat and its team. And I thank the interpreters. I thank them for their coordination and for cooperation, a relationship that we've enjoyed over the past year and a half that I've spent among you as a permanent representative of Syria at the United Nations. And in very complex conditions, sensitive ones that had many challenges and greater hopes. I have always, myself and my team, whom I thank sincerely, we have continued to strive to perform our diplomatic duties professionally and with integrity to convey the positions of the Syrian government and to defend it in all international fora. Our compass and our main message has always been and will continue to be and will remain that of support for the Syrian people and alleviating their suffering and lifting the sanctions and supporting humanitarian work and development. I thank our partners that I have been honored to work with throughout my long years in the field of humanitarian and development work. I call upon you to continue supporting Syria and the Syrian people. The Syrians rely on this continued positive international engagement and the constructive support for their efforts. They look forward to turning over this painful leaf, this extremely painful leaf of war and suffering. I call for the blessings for all the martyrs of Syria. I call and I pray for patience and and strength to their families. And I would like to congratulate Ambassador Ibrahim Al-Alabi, who will assume his responsibilities as my successor, and I wish him success in all his efforts to serve Syria and the Syrians. I leave this forum and I fully believe that Syria, with its great history and its civilization and its people and their national belonging, will overcome all difficulties and all challenges, and it will be a single unified homeland where everyone will work together to build a better future made by all Syrians and for all Syrians.
For all Syrians. شكرا سيد الرئيس.
I thank you, sir.
Agradezco a la delegación.
I thank the delegation of the Syrian Arab Republic